Hey guys, this is Simon with TRADEnPERFORM Coaching, discussing a relatively, well, it's not even a new setup, right? Um, as members within the room come up with new ideas, better ideas to improve the algo and ways that we can make money, we find improvements. And then usually those become complicated and we look for ways to streamline them so you can make easy decisions. By the way, before I get started, if you'd like a trial to the room or you have any questions about what you see in the video, like to join the room, whatever the case may be, TRADEnPerform@gmail.com. TRADENPERFORM@gmail.com. So, probably some of you out there who are more experienced traders kind of know this pattern, but within the bars, if you look inside the bars, what we've had here is if you get a bar formation, let me kind of just draw it here, see if it makes sense for people. But anytime you get kind of this wedge of volume, where one way or the other, end up with like a cheese block. See how you have that wedge? So see up here how this looks like see if you took this bar and you drew up like this, you have a wedge of volume over here right at the top. See that? And when you get a shooting star that falls away from a wedge, and so there's two components, right? You get the falling star that falls away from the wedge, and the second component of that is uh, that you would see a shooting star, usually in our case with an algo underneath it, right? But this is a lot of work to watch. So I was looking at it and I was trying to find it. You'll see this trading pattern here. You see where the volume builds behind. And two things, tests back into this tend to reject, so they're very useful from that perspective. And so basically you look inside the bar and you know where the volume is. It's essentially, these are just little mini volume profiles. And you can see when they get left behind. So I'll give you an example here. See, like when holding test, but you're looking for basically this, right? But there's two problems with this idea. So the idea is if it closed down like this, some people, depending on who you are, want it to test back in. I love that because it reduces your stop and you have high odds of rejection, right? But it doesn't always have to be at the turn. And the reality is whenever you see a big volume build on top, like as you're watching it go up, the reality is the setup doesn't always come just off of the volume build itself. Like here you have a beautiful wedge, right? So location matters because you get this wedge. It tests back up. You can see it rejected out of it, but it's coming right off the low, right? You would expect a lot of buyers to start pouring in off the bottom, right? So coming down, you want to see the opposite. You want to see where all the sellers are. And so you can see right here in this bar, from here down to here, really this whole little area is where sellers got trapped, right? So this is aimed mostly at the members in the room, but I kind of figured out what the pattern is that we need to look for, and I have it down and it gets much simplified because it simplifies the rules after I looked at it. So I'm going to, and I realized this, Joyce had a lot to do, one of the members in the room, Joyce, who I was coaching this weekend, had a lot to do with figuring this out. So I want to show you something. So let's just go back and look at Thursday, for example, okay? So here's Thursday AM, 8:30 a.m. So this is the pattern that we're looking for, guys. If we get a triangle up, so we know that's an important algo, right? So right now our best algo, so let's actually pause with that. Our best algo right now is if we get a no demand bar, that purple bar right there, and then we get this algo on top. We know that, especially if there's a triangle down and a triangle up involved in it, you know that you have a very, very, very strong chance of getting a push in the opposite direction, right? It's a great entry. And we also know that you have to, in order to go higher, you have to at least get above the last algo to the left-hand side, right? So the question is always, can you cheat up on that? Can you get, so we're not going to include location as this trade. We're not going to look whether it's inside of value or outside of value because those are important things. Better trades come outside of prior day's value and above and below prior day's high and low, right? So remember, we're not trying to capture the whole move. That's great if we do, sometimes we do, but we're just trying to make sure that we put money in our pocket every single day, right? So here's the pattern, guys. Stared at it and I kind of thought about it, doodled about it. If you get a triangle up, and then within the next 4 bars, right, you get on a Renko bar, you get a shooting star within 4 bars, that is a long or short signal, right? And if you look at it just taking it blindly, we'll just go from the open. So 1, 2, 3, you are in on that bar, particularly if it has a little yellow dot underneath another algo fires, right? And so look at the entry. I realize I don't trade 8:30 in the morning, but this is the entry right here, 16,102. And you can see even out of the gate, it stretches from 16,102 to 16,088. So from my perspective, if I'm trading 2 or 3 contracts or 10 or 20 contracts or whatever you're trading, right, even there, that is about a 12-point move or $240 a contract. For me, that's a good trade, right? If you look again when it's set up, so obviously you'd want a general bias as to which way you're trading, and I'll go to that in a second, right? So it doesn't always set up, but in general, again, if you're looking to push, that was ended up being that was the prior day's IB high as well. So if you're looking to push down, right, which I actually was on Thursday, rightly or wrongly, right? Bar 1, 2, 3. You see the little yellow dot underneath, and again, that one paid about 20 points or better, right? So again, this is down 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, that's a speed bar. It helps if there's an algo on it. And again, that's another 10 or 20 points. That's in the first 3 minutes of the day, and I don't trade the first half hour. So let's move out of the first half hour because it's fast. Again, I have no problem trading the first half hour, but the formula for me is pretty clear, right? Which I almost immediately, this is kind of going to go straight to the top of the list because what that pattern does is encapsulates what we're actually looking for without doing all that work on the volume. It simplifies this chart. Like when I looked at the pattern of which of these worked the best, right? There was a consistent pattern of, for example, triangle down, followed by within 4 bars, a bar with an algo on it. There's some stops, right? So here's your bar down, 1, 2, 3, bar with an algo, right? So follow it again. So you could say, well, I would have gotten stopped on the short. You would have, but you're shorting IB low for whatever that's worth, right? So hopefully you're looking for it to bounce. That's in the first couple minutes of the day. But even within this, right, you see triangle down, right? Triangle down. Again, hammer on the Renko. Off it goes to the races. No trade here, right? Triangle up. Shooting star. It's a speed bar. It's yellow, so you're short. And you can fade back into these. Okay, and this takes place almost anywhere you look. There's a consistency to the reversal. So in some cases it doesn't work. Like this wouldn't qualify. It wasn't within 4 bars, right? And in some cases it'll stop you. So see that little chop zone that we went through right there at 9:30, where it just chop, 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 chop. You could have easily gotten stopped in here. So if you, especially if you didn't scale very, very quickly, right? So I would have seen this as a head and shoulders. Quite sure a bunch of people probably did, right? At 9:22. So triangle down, engulfing bar with a little algo on top. That would be a stop. This would be a small profit. This would be a small profit. That would have been a hard place. If the market starts chopping inside of itself like that, there's not much we can do. But again, most of the time we don't find ourselves trading a lot at IB low or at IB high, letting it wear itself out. I'm just trying to go through all the examples to show, hey, this is what the setup looked like if you took everything indiscriminately, right? So, but even going through that, if you looked at that series, you would have been up pretty significantly going through this process. Give me a second, guys. If you would have looked through here, you would have seen this setting up, right? You would have, there's no question you would have gotten stopped here, right? But hopefully we would have used location, and anyone who's been in the room knows we search location and specific areas above the wave, below the wave, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to go into that in just a second. But again, you can see just in general, right? We take out a low, you add a triangle down, hammer with an algo on top. Look how fat the lift is. Like, it's just giant, right? You just took out the low to the left, right? Going up, notice there's no way this is a trade. So this is a situation where we just wouldn't get a trade in that particular area, right? This would be a long, right? And realize you're above the wave. That's the wave to the low, right? So guys in the room know what that means. That's the wave to the low. Triangle down, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a profitable trade. And you're still looking for the longs, right? So this would be an example of an unprofitable trade right there, depending on the stop that you use, but you probably got stopped on that realistically, right? And I would encourage you, I'm not encouraging you to take every single trade, but at location, yeah, I'm encouraging you to take those trades, no question about it, right? So again, when you look, you just came back in for a retest, right? Triangle down, engulfing bar. And so for those who are, let's look a little bit closer, right, at this idea or this concept, right? If you took this trade, there's two things that matter here. If you took this trade on the pullback, like what I would be looking for in here, let me erase all this. So what I would have been looking for is, let's say I thought, well, okay, that's the wave to the low. I'm looking for longs, right? So see that push down. So like, for example, over here, I just broke. This was tough because we were all in balance, right? But we just took out IB low, right? You broke the wave to the low. So you're looking for the 50-60 retrace, right? So it's not that we drop all other setups, right? But we already know this 2-bar combo right here, right, is really powerful. If you can get that combo plus narrow, it's really, really powerful. So here I'd be looking normally for a 50-60 retrace anyways, right? I just go, okay, where's my 50-60 / 768? So like that would normally be a long for me. This normally, anything above this 50 retrace, like this is a great example. I wouldn't be taking any of this, right? None of this would interest me because I haven't hit the 50 retrace yet in here. I'm looking to test back into this wave. This interests me even though there's no arrow here, right? Why? It's a no demand. I get 3 algos fired, 2 right side by side. Like I'm willing to take a shot there, right? I know I've already tested back in. This is coming back for a little test. I'm interested in this for the continuation right here. Triangle down on that speed bar with the hammer. That's a 1-bar stop. I'm willing to take that, right? I'm still not short in here, right? There's no reason for me to be short. Now we've broken, right? So in that break, right, now I want to either get back above the wave to the low, or I want to set back up as we come back in and test for a potential short, right? So I'm looking. That's a short for me. Why? See how we broke that wave and then we did a 50 retrace? You can just eyeball it and you can see we did a retrace all the way back to the 62 retrace. See how we got past the 50 and into the 62 right here? So what am I looking for here? Right? I'm either looking for a triangle up or a no demand followed by a speed bar. So I don't get it here, I don't get it here, I get it right here, triangle up. There's the engulfing bar with the algo on it. Down we fire, right? So I'm going to be selective in looking for areas, right? I know what I am looking for in terms of a trade. I just need them all to line up kind of at the same time, right? At the same location. So you can see there, so we push back into the 786 of this retrace over here. So how did this work? So then you go, well, Simon, how did that work? Right? So look at the actual technicality. So I don't want to short into the lows. I'm looking for longs, right? So you'll notice when this kink comes back in here, when they come off the low and they kink it back down, first of all, it's a 1-bar stop. You should be able to survive a 1-bar stop. You should be sized correctly, right? So in this case, if I'm pushing into the lows and I don't break them, I'm going to look for bounces out of there. But as I push into that 786, right? So this triangle down and this bar, I'm going to take a stop on that right there. That's just an auto stop of 12 points for me, right? It's going to give that triangle up right here, right? And again, that engulfing bar, the algo on top, and I'm going to more than make up my 12 points to the downside right over there, right? The machines, the software is actually telling me where to trade. So remember when we're looking there, we're looking for two components, right? As we're coming down, if we're coming down, we're looking for an algo to fire on this side of the V shape, and then we're looking for the up. So what I'm constantly looking for is to increase that idea or that concept, right? So normally I would say, hey, this is a long, right? And I would say you have to get over these two bars is what it's going to take to lift, right? So what I'm hoping for is that they'll push back in on that, right? So see, once we lifted above, how they started to get buying power. So what I'm hoping for, right, A, is that we can get a triangle down into this stuff after we get the other algos print. We're looking for a triangle to fire into the low, right? So same thing with it into the high, right? When I look to the left, right, I want to be able to see, and I want to have an idea of where I'm taking this trade, one way or the other, right? So the best is when they're just compacted right up against each other. You get a triangle up, and then the shooting star right next to each other, right? Next is if you get the triangle up, right? And then you get the shooting star within 4 bars. Again, that's a very good trade given that you have location, right? Why? Because if you look at each of these trades, and you're going to be like, well, Simon, it's, if you held that trade, you lost. Well, I'd agree with that, right? But if you're holding these trades, first of all, this is the wave to the low right here, right? So you haven't gotten above the wave to the low. You'd expect a pushback until they get up above that wave to the low. But if you look, first of all, there's no trade here. We don't take the trade because there's no algo. There's no down triangle, right? If we just focus on this setup, we don't do anything here. You might take this for continuation, right? If you did that and said, well, they're going to continue there, and you didn't see the turn or you didn't think it was going to turn, you're going to take that short right there. The best you could have done, right, is going to be a 24 for 18. Not a very good trade. 6 points, $120 a contract, right? And that's assumed you could have gotten in as quickly as possible. However, assuming you're using a one bar stop, let's say this is your 12 point stop and you're using location, right? So triangle up, 1, 2, 3, fourth bar shooting star. This trade, right, gives you a roll from 16,035 to 16,022. And what you're going to see, because if people have been in the room, so I'm talking about a very specific algo setup, right? So in a very specific algo setup, you are looking for all the pieces to come together at once. Like we'll have levels in the room. Like let me give you all an example here. One second. Let me see if I can find it for you. And of course I can't. Hold on one second here. There we go. Okay, so like while we're trading NQ or ES or any other product, right? Like this is Friday's NQ chart, right? So I would go, okay, if you look at Friday, right? So first of all, we know trading inside of the balance area is a difficult place to trade, right? Secondly, you'll see there, and I think I accidentally erased the balance area, but that's Fridays. This is Thursdays. There we go. Let's get this all together right here. So you can see the majority of Friday coming into the day, we were in balance. We started off with an open drive higher, then it lower, excuse me, and then it V-shaped right into pretty much a trend day up, right? So this whole move up, like we're really not looking for location once we get past value area until 16, 12, 16, 17, 2, right? This is 16,185, 16,172. We're going to use our chart as location, right? Just like we would use, here, let me erase this real quick. Okay, there's nothing false here. Value area high or value area low. Like I'd want to get above value area high or below value area low in order to take a trade. So see, as we push down into that 16,104, I'd go, hey, we're coming into either the prior day's high or the prior day's low, right? If you look, that's prior day's low, actually from the US session, right? That's 16,104. So I'd say two things when we're looking at that. I'd say, hey guys, the best place to get is to be able to get underneath. But if it fails to get underneath, watch for the reversal, right? That's right between 8 and 9 o'clock. So now go to that same area on Friday. So that's 16,004. So if I'm banking against, if 16,004 is the prior day's low, which was right here, right? Okay, well, we just haven't been weak, right? We're in the first half hour. You can see it set a little mini head and shoulders. But I'm going to go, hey, we're looking for longs, and there's two places I would have looked for longs. Let me erase these lines real quick. I would have said if you're looking for 16,004 to hold, what are we looking for down here, right? So I would like a triangle down, and then a on the bottom a hanging man, right? Or a shooting star, however you like to inverse shooting star, hammer, whatever you want to call it. It's the bar with the wick on it, right? So let's see how we did when we were near support. Triangle down, hammer. That lifts. That's a profitable trade. That's 10 or 20 points, right? Again, triangle down, 1, 2, third bar is a hammer. It doesn't have an algo on it. I would not take that, right? Rightly or wrongly, I would not take that because the failure rate is higher on those. Okay, coming over here, here's my arrow down. Obviously more than 4 bars. I don't take this, right? Here's my triangle down. All right, I want a hammer with an algo on it. That's not my trade either. So now here, triangle down, actually with the arrow on top, that's even more important. It's a no demand. It's a shooting star with a little green algo that fired on top. I want to be long there, right? Next, as I'm coming over here, this set up my wave to the low, guys. Sorry, I guess I got to put context on this every time. So no trade over here. There's nothing for me to do, right? So just keep going through the concept. So when you look there, right, and you look through here, you go, okay, this is long, right? So a couple of things that can be frustrating. Let's talk about that, right? Number one, if I take this trade, I don't want more than a 12-point stop there. So if I take it at 47.50, that means I have 37.50, 35.50 becomes my stop, right? Which I got a feeling they just tagged that out exactly. See that? So maybe you want to add a point to it, but it was generally right. Maybe 12, it might be 13 points, right? That's very, 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 very important. Okay. Even if I get stopped here and I don't scale here, right? All I was able to pull is 47 to 53, which is about 5 points. I'm probably trying to get about 10 points. Again, unless I'm thinking, hey, I'm stacking the trade, I'm above the wave to the low, right? Next, triangle down. This is powerful, right? Speed bar. I want to be long this combo right here. The more algos that you add up in one area, the more important those bars become. So if you look, right, you get triangle down, arrow down, into prior day's low, right? They've already tried to push that. That arrow down tells me they're really trying to push low hard at the low. My stop is this bar, right? So look at the RR that's available, and now I have the ability to stack the trade. Watch as you're moving across. So I'm not looking for a short up here unless I'm at location, right? So again, this doesn't qualify. This doesn't qualify. This doesn't qualify. There's no long at all through here, and I have no reason to short. Why? Because I'm looking to go to the other end of the range or get above 16,080. This is where the target is, right? 16,080 is the target up. So you've already had a pretty kick-ass day off the low to begin with. You're still not below the wave to the high. You're going to see it goes vertical on you, and it's going to give you no short signal, right? I want you to observe that. It's going to give you no short signal. I'll take it back. If you couldn't recognize that we were on trend day up, you took a stop. Even though it went slightly profitable, you took a stop right there. You were taking the most aggressive off the edge and not with location, right? So as you're looking and you're coming up on that, right, this would have been your next entry. I believe this entry stopped, survived. So it's 78, 88, 78.50, 88.50. So it'd be 91.50 would be the stop. So this is your first entry. Why is it your first entry? Actually, I'll take it back. This is your first entry. So you got stopped on this one stop here. Then this is at 78, right? 78 to 91, which is where you had your anomaly, 72 to 85. We knew there was a reason for the market to pause up here, right? So you get your triangle up, your algo, triangle up, your algo, triangle up, no algo here, but you've still survived. Your stop is at 91.50, and it's pushed you all the way down to 62.50. Again, if your entry was 78, you get to 62, that's almost $300 a contract. Considering it was trend day up, that's pretty good, right? So now just keep going through that trek. I doubt that I took the continuation trade up there. No short here. I'd be short right here, right? It's two algos, triangle up, engulfing bar underneath. Again, that takes me from 89, I'm at the back of that, all the way down to 63. That's a good trade. That's $400 or $500 a contract. There's zero wrong with that. This is a good trade for continuation. You're underneath the wave. Not underneath the wave to the high, but mighty close, right? So that algo, again, see how it pushed you to profitability? And now what have you done? You've pulled back to support, right? Or at least you've pulled back on a trend day up going into New York lunch, right? So now you can start to explore the long side. Triangle down, algo, algo, right? Fire, up it goes, right? No short there. There's no triangle up. No short there. Too many bars. Long here. Right, it's come out, taking out your stops to the left. Again, triangle down, another algo. This is the bar you're long on. That is going to make your decision-making process much, much easier. No short there at the high, right? No short here, no algo on this bar, right? Here I can, well, this is the end of the day, but I can start to look for an algo right there, right? So that's how it would have worked. And if you go back and you say, well, Simon, does it work anywhere? So remember, just randomly go back on your dates. Go back to Tuesday, right? What did Tuesday look like? So what I suggest is you look underneath the wave to the low or the wave to the high to get the setups, right? So if you were to look on, let's do something here. Let's go 15. Let's just load 15 days really quick. Okay, so let's say we came in and we were looking for our setups on, so there's additional setups beyond this, right? But let's say we were looking for the long, right? So it's 8:38 in the morning. You see that we get our initial push down. This becomes the wave to the low. We don't set a new low, so that wave to the low comes over here, right? So I already know I'm looking for longs over here. I'm hunting those longs down in this area because this has become my wave to the low. That wave does, I want to be clear, that wave does not rewrite, right? That wave does not rewrite at all, right? It's really important to remember that that wave does not rewrite, or you end up with a lot of uncertainty, right? So your Wyckoff waves should not be rewriting. Mine certainly do not. Once they're set, they are set. They do not continue. So when you look, I'm looking for longs against this wave to the low. Why? I know we're likely to push out just like we did right over here, right? So now I can go to work. What am I looking for? I'm looking for triangle down, right? So there's multiple setups, but we're focusing on one right now. Triangle down, right? Triangle down doesn't occur within 4 bars. Nothing to do. Triangle down, don't get the algo. Triangle down, 1, 2, third bar has the algo, that's long. That pushes out from 61 all the way up to 97, 30 points or $600 a contract, right? We're coming down to test again. Recognize that we haven't gotten below the wave to the high yet, right? Nothing here. Triangle down, no supply, no demand bar, algo, long, paid, have a good night. Your day's over, right? Like I think that's a 100-point trade, if I recall correctly, right? And then you can run that trade just the other way, right? So realize we haven't made it underneath the wave to the high yet, right? Which means instinctively you are looking to push. This is a new wave to the high right here, so you have to get underneath here to change that, right? So realize even my most conservative traders are waiting to get underneath the wave, right? If you're not waiting, if you're only trading to the long side till we get underneath the wave, this is your next long right here. That's for your next long setup, and again, you get paid, right? And I just picked the day randomly. It's not like I went through. Now we're underneath. So now I want to push back up. Hold on for a second. I would have shorted this, right? Why? I'm underneath my wave to the high. So let's see how I do. I'm going to take every one of these bars that qualify. So I'm short here, and I'm going to put a 13-point stop on this. So 06 plus 13 is 19. That's my stop, roughly, right? Stopped. Keep following. No trade. Short, again, right here. Again, this is 32. And I'm going to put 13, so 33, 45. That's roughly my stop, right? And again, I have other ways of doing this, but that's roughly my stop. Okay, and I'm trying to show the most simplistic way of running the trade, right? Stop again. I'm fine with that, right? I want to show where it fails so you can see where it works, right? So I don't know what happened there between 11 and 12 where we just went vertical. Again, I don't have the context of the date. Thursday shouldn't have been a Fed day, right? And sometimes you're going to lose. So realize you picked up a ton of P. So look at where we're at the day. We picked up a ton of P&L in the morning, right? If we continue trading all the way through the day, right? We just took a stop, right? There's no question about it. If I took that trade right there, I took a stop, 2 in a row, right? So that's why, guys, in the room, I go, if I take 2 trades back to back, sometimes I may need to pause just to make sure I'm not getting swept in news, right? So realize at this point, right, if you look at this, we now closed above. This was the wave to the low. And even though this was a no supply, no demand bar, technically I'm now looking for a long, right? So, and if you look, right, they just did not make that afternoon easy. That pretty much went into balance in the afternoon and pushed up. But the majority of the time, like if we go look at the next day, and again, I know I'm beating the dead horse. The majority of the time, yes, you will take stops, right? But you're going to have to hunt down those stops. They're not all that easy to find. Let me show you going into that Friday. Again, this is without the advantage of location, inside value, outside of value, which all goes into our thinking process, right? So here's 8:30 a.m. So from the open, right, this is effectively my wave to the low. We've closed above the wave to the low, triangle down, bar with the algo on it, and it's almost an insta pay, right? Like it's very, 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 very quick, and we're not looking for shorts up here, right? As you're coming through here, so I'll take that back. It's okay to look for shorts if you're uber aggressive and you're at location in this, but it's for my more aggressive traders, right? So we can't get underneath the wave to the high. That's it. Then it's right here. We just can't get underneath the wave. So really, you're still looking for your longs. You can see again, this launched you pretty nicely, right? Here, right? So this doesn't qualify. This would have qualified as a short for my most aggressive traders. You're not underneath the wave, right? This becomes the wave to the high right here, right? So this again, triangle up, 1, 2, 3, fourth bar, down it goes, right? In this case, this doesn't qualify. This does qualify. Now I'm looking for shorts, right? So let me be clear on that. This was the wave to the high. We closed underneath the wave to the high, right? So this is my triangle up. That's my algo that fired. I get paid on that, right? Just quick in and out. It's not a matter of me holding it for time. It's, that's 10, 20 points, $400 a contract, right? And my primary trading hours are between 9 and 11, right? Central time. That's a no trade for me. Now, hold on a sec. See how we've gotten above that wave? If we get a complete close above there, shorting this becomes very dangerous. See how that bar closed completely above? No short. And there's no indication to short, right? So we're actually looking for a long on a pullback. Didn't pull back, just went sideways. No short here because there's no algo on the shooting star. Not within 4 bars. Wave to the high. Okay, this is an orthodox close on the wave to the high. I'm short this bar. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. But I would be short that bar. I don't trade the last hour actually, so I wouldn't short that bar, but it's valid, so is this is valid too. If you're willing to short the last hour, I'm usually not because it's hard, and that's the reason why. I tend to stay out of the last hour completely. But normally once you're underneath the wave to the high, you're good to go. And if you shorted these, you're able to scalp out of them, right? The whole point is they give you high odds locations. Now I'm going to add one more piece, okay? You'll notice that a number of times, guys, again, assuming you're not trading in the last hour and you're giving the trade time to develop, right? But most of the time when it does this setup where you get, here, I'm going to go back to the low in the morning. Again, like in here, see how you get the triangle down. Wow, that 930, anywhere you're going to get algos fire, this becomes difficult. But even within this, normally you're going to look long. Like we generally don't trade this 10 minutes. Like we know that What's the reason why you wouldn't trade this? Let me ask you. If you look at this, this is your IB low. They're going to try and break it, right? Right after 930 or set a new IB low. Here's 930. See this? Okay, they're going to try and break your IB low there. You're not going to trade at 930 trying to capture that trade. The trade you're looking for, right? The trade you're looking for, you want to occur over here, and it didn't happen at 930, right? It just didn't. It didn't break IB low, right? As far as we can tell. When it took off like that, right? You've now gotten above the wave to the high. There's your down triangle. There's the engulfing bar for continuation. But what I want to show you, so see that you're looking at 36, 26 plus 3. So 26 plus 3 is 23. That's your stop. So see, once you get this bar right here and you take it, remember, the further you push back into that bar, the higher odds you have of a great RR with a smaller stop. So on any of these trades, what you will notice sometimes is if it immediately tests back into this bar, let me go, let's find a day where it did it almost immediately. And the last 2 weeks have just been kind of grindy, but when you look up here, or even in Asia, right, or before Asia, doesn't matter where, Like even when you look here and you go, okay, where's the setup? So it's 1, 1, 2, 3. This is your short, right? You need 13 points of stop. O3, so that's 13, so it's basically 14 plus 10, 24 plus 3, 17. 1675 is the stop. That's the stop. That's 13 points of stop because your entry is one tick below here, right? So it's 13 points from the bottom of this bar. But as you push back into this bar, right, you will notice that you have very high odds that it'll let you stack into that trade quite often, right? The other thing you'll notice quite often is if you don't get that triangle down or that algo down before it prints that engulfing bar, or there's no algo to the left, it'll come back and reprint it. So on all of these, right, see how this bar prints and then it comes back in and tests on that bar? That is an entry the great deal of the time, right? For profitable trades out of there, and you cut your size, like on this bar right here, this traced all the way back to 10. So the entry was originally 14, but it pulled back to 1050. It saved you 4 points off of that 13-point stop. So now you're down to a 9-point stop. It's important that you're dynamically working with that trade to find the setup. So I want to leave y'all with this. And anyone in the room who wants this can have it. It's helpful, right? All of this translates one into the other. I have this chart up all day long. I know that I'm looking for specific volume details within here. There are some trades that develop on this chart that aren't as cleanly laid out as triangle within 4 bars and then a hammer. But, and I want to be really clear on this. I want to be really, really clear on this. If this is overwhelming for you to work and to have this all up on your chart, no problem. Gear shift. Just go, okay, triangle down within 4 bars if I get a hammer with an algo on it, right? I can go along that bar with a 13-point stop, and I have very good odds of getting paid, particularly in a wide-ranging market. Anyways, I hope that helped. That was a coaching session primarily for members in the room. It'll help dramatically in improving your P&L over the great setups that we already have, right? Obviously, over the wave and under the wave works better. And remember, we're not trying to capture every move, just the highest odds moves. And the combination of those arrows plus the shooting star with the algo on it sets you up to make an enormous amount of money. And it's something that every person in the room should be hunting and making detailed notes of, particularly between the hours of 9 and 11. That's our prime money making period, and you can make a lot of money in that period. So anyway, Simon, TRADEnPERFORM. I'm sorry this was long, but I needed to explain what I was looking at. I welcome feedback. I'll give clarification in the room as we go forward. Have a great night, guys.